Blog Talk Radio.
Good morning, folks. This is Ghost here, once again with another free format impromptu edition of True Conservative Radio. I'm sure folks are probably listening into this show not knowing what in the blue hell has happened. This show has broadcasted 4 a.m. Central Time, 3 a.m. On the West Coast, and it's 5 a.m. on the East Coast. And the only reason that I've got this show up and running is because we are continuing a show that got started off over there on Ozone's Political Intervention. I was chatting with a lot of the dissenters of my political persuasion, a lot of people that just disagree with my politics. They disagree with my political persuasion. And we just sat down and had about a 2-hour discussion about it, and hopefully we're going to continue on and have that conversation. Now, you can get back to me. The number is 646-652-4869 is the number to call. The chat room is up and running. So if you want to get hooked up on the chat room, go ahead and get back to us at www.blogtalkradio.com/ghost. That's Ghost. But, since we're waiting for everybody to show up here, the bottom line is that I'm a true conservative, and I've been chastised by all these Republicans that are out here, of course. The Republicans that are claiming that I'm some sort of a madman, that I'm some sort of a big bad guy or something. And I confronted 2 of them on Political Intervention on Ozone Show. And one of them was MD Conservative, and obviously Jen. We all know Jen. And we also had Dan from Guerrilla News Radio. We had a whole bunch of folks on there. The problem is that I had these Republicans, fellow Republicans that are out here trying to chastise me, like I've stated previous, for being a true conservative. And it makes me sick. It makes me sad. But anyway, folks, I wanted to apologize to all the folks that were expecting a show on Sunday at 9 p.m. Central Time, showed up and didn't have one. Unfortunately, I was attending some engagements with my family. Sundays sometimes is pretty much dedicated as a family day for me, and that's why, unfortunately, I wasn't able to get around to my show. And once again, I'm sorry for that, but we're having an impromptu show here. It's very, very early in the morning. 4 o'clock Central Time, 4 o'clock Central Time. And what's unfortunate is that, I just basically got off of a show with 2 people that dissented my particular political persuasion. And, we were having some pretty heated debate about it, And I was hoping to continue and to facilitate that debate, and we're waiting for those folks to arrive. If they don't arrive, well, we're just going to talk about the American family. And as we can see, we got a few people coming into the room. Like I stated previous, we had a debate, so to speak, with some of the Republican dissenters that just do not like me for whatever reason. I'm a true conservative, first and foremost. Like everybody who's listened to me, anybody who's heard my rhetoric knows that I'm a true conservative. I'm against abortion. I believe in the American family. I believe that it's worth preserving. And I'm being chastised by that because, I don't know, one man on the show that we just left previous suggested that I'm some sort of a fascist because I'm trying to save the American family, and I think that's laughable. I think it's absolutely laughable. So, it's ridiculous, to be honest with you. Anyway, we got MD Conservative. Hey, 646-652-4869. Give me a call. Let's talk about it. BTR's given me a little bit of trouble. That's why it took me a little bit to log into this damn thing. And let me tell you, I've told whoever's running BTR, Blog Talk Radio Network, you need to fix up the kinks of this crap. Okay? I know that y'all are providing us the format to broadcast or do whatever it is that we do on here, but with all due respect, BTR, we're bringing in people. We got people listening in, they're the ones listening to your advertisements. They're the ones clicking on the banner. So, try to make it a little bit more efficient with all due respect. And I know y'all are working on it, and Hopefully I'll work a little harder. Anyway, I think this is MD Conservative. Are you there?
Yes, it's me.
Okay, now, look, you've been one of my top dissenters on here, and like I've stated in the previous show that we just left from, you have stated more four-letter words and personal attacks at me. Why?
Well, I don't think I have.
No, I disagree, MD Conservative. I mean, I've been in here in my chat room many times, and let me tell you, you have thrown some real filth at me. And I just don't understand why. I mean, do you disagree? I mean, obviously you disagree with me about saving the American family.
No, I disagree with how it seems that you want to go about it. I don't have any problem saving the American family. I agree with you that the American family was part of, I don't think that it was the whole, but it was part of the backbone that made this country what it is. Why would I want to get rid of that? Of course I don't want to get rid of it.
Well, you're not trying to help save it.
Well, how so?
I mean, I'm just saying that we need to talk about this in an open forum. And look, maybe you disagree with the notions that I'm alluding to in trying to solve this problem, but it needs to be solved. And, I mean, to suggest that, well, you know, it's free will. If people don't want to be in families, that's all there is to it. I mean, you got to look at the reason why this sudden social change in what used to be the foundation of humanity. And if you look back at the first humans on Earth, well, I wouldn't go back that far. I would say, like the tribes of recorded record, you'll see that what kept tribes together was family. So that itself is the essence of humanity, is family. Right. Any empire that tried to dilute or decimate or exterminate, whatever it is, the family, they fell. Rome, you know, if you look at the social landscape of Rome and compare it to today's America, it looks rather frightening.
Right, but I mean, when you say that, all it sounds like is that if the people aren't going to do it, that you need a bigger power to do it for them, which would be the government. And I don't think that's the way to go about it, or that it can be done that way.
Well, I know you suggested that it should be in the churches.
Well, churches or community for people that aren't religious. I mean, there's different sources, but I mean, for me, that would be my primary source.
But you see, what if you're trying to gather around a group of people in your community where, you know, the whole focal point is trying to save the American family, and every door you knock on, it's a single parent. Do you think that they'd be very encouraged to join something that's encouraging a two-parent household?
Well, probably not. But, I mean, what are you going to do, mandate them to get married again?
No, I'm not saying they should get married again. I'm just saying that I think there needs to be a line drawn in the sand. And
but by who?
Somebody. I mean, this is okay. Look, do you think that we should just accept what's happening?
No.
Well, I don't understand. I mean, you're suggesting community groups, and I'm suggesting to you that the social norms have become the social ills, the social ills have become the social norms. And if I go knocking on doors trying to gather around a whole bunch of people to advocate the American family, you've got single parents out here that are not going to look too highly about it. On the contrary, they're probably going to, you know, say, well, you know what, screw the American family because the American family didn't work for me. And we got to get to the problem on why it didn't. And that's what I'm trying to do by suggesting that liberalism and feminism and all these isms that have encapsulated itself under this one disguise, it is completely messed up our social society, in my view. I know I've been talking a lot. Go ahead, MD.
No, we're having a discussion. It's your show, so you're free to talk as much as you want. But look, I mean, I think that's our major disconnect. I have a big problem with how you present stuff, and I think that's kind of at the previous show. That was one of the problems that everybody had. Some people have more problems. But it's just, you know, you say, you know, somebody's got to draw a line in the sand. And my question is who? If it's fathers and mothers, community leaders, the church, whatever, that's fine. I do not think that the government should be the one drawing the line in the sand. If the government drawing the line in the sand is not your solution, then I don't necessarily know if we agree in how to get there, but we don't completely disagree.
Well, you know what? I'm just saying that there needs to be something done. Now, I mean, like I've stated previous, I've acknowledged that some of the things I've suggested, and what's going on to the people in the room, Guerrilla News Radio, Cuba, Flag Gazer, you know, you're more than welcome to call. You know, the number is 646-652-4869. But the reason I have such an extremist view on it, MD, is because if we don't have an extremist view, nothing's going to be said about it, nothing's going to be done about it. Now, you have to acknowledge that the things that I've said have been, I guess, talk of the BTR town out here. I mean, I've been told that I've had at least about 6 or 7 shows, you know, directed towards me as some sort of a bad guy or something. But all I'm saying is that we need to talk about it. We need to talk about the American family being decimated. It's becoming extinct. And look, I mean, if it turns out that nothing's going to happen to it, I mean, we're just going to have to accept the fact that the social ills are the social norms. And this is what I've been stating on my show, MD, is that this is what the Republicans have done at this point. They've accepted social liberalism. They've accepted the fact that, hey, we're going to have single-parent families. They've accepted the fact that, you know, we're going to have divorces. People are going to change divorces like you know, dirty skid-marked underwear. You know, people are just going to do whatever they want to do, and they're turning a blind eye to the fact that if we cripple the foundation of what created America, which was the American family, that's the reason why our forefathers went across the pond into the New World, to make a better life for themselves and their family. I mean, all of the settlers that came over here took their families with them because it was the family that kept them together, that kept them going. They actually got on a boat and, you know, there was no such things as navigation systems and foretelling a hurricane or a storm. I mean, these boats were made out of wood, for Christ's sake. I mean, they risked all that to go across the pond and settle in a land that was unknown. I mean, and it was because of the family. And that's what I'm saying, that the family is the foundation of life. And if we don't help preserve it, life is going to turn into something, I don't even know what it's going to turn into.
Well, that's the major problem. I mean, we do agree, but the point is, and like you said, is how to do it. And that's my biggest problem. Is I think it was Dan that was saying, you know, your show belongs more in sort of the pundit or talk or something. And it's when you say the family values have declined, and then you say, you know, this is what the Republican Party has let it be. You can say that the Republican Party is you know, fallen apart, destroyed, whatever, but it wasn't the Republican Party that encouraged people in these acts. It's not. That's my major problem. Is it's not politicians' fault that people are acting how they are. It's not the government's fault or their position to correct it. That's just not their place in our society. We tell the government what to do. The government doesn't tell us what to do.
Okay, now, with that same rationale, okay, you're suggesting, now what are you suggesting in that statement?
Well, I'm just simply...
Because I don't want to say something and say, you know, that's what you mean, right? I want to know what you mean.
I mean, if you don't understand, just ask me. I'm trying to think of how to explain it. But it's just, the government is we the people. I mean, we're not a complete democracy. We're a democratic republic, but essentially we are the government, in a sense. We just have our representatives. But it's our place to tell our representatives what the hell to do and how the hell to vote and hold them to it. It's not their place to turn around and tell me, well, it's about that time in your life you should settle down and have a family. I just think that needs to be encouraged through other means, not the government. It's just that I just disagree with that, or if that's what you're saying.
Well, you know, we just recently had the CPAC conference.
Right.
And CPAC, you know, used to be about conservative principles. As a matter of fact, I mean, you had, you know, family organizations, the Heritage Foundation, all kinds of conservative groups that go to this event. Well, after we realized that Romney was the Mormon, he was going to drop out of the race, you had all these, I couldn't believe it when I heard it. I was listening to Ed Morrissey's show, and he was at CPAC, and he grabbed a guy from the Heritage Foundation, another guy from some family institution. So, I mean, conservative guys. He got them on the air and suggested, what are we going to do? You know, what are we going to do about the Republican Party? And all these guys went completely against the principles that they stood for so many years, and said, you know what we have to do? We have to just, you know, eat crap and take it, and just vote for John McCain. And I just don't understand why somebody would go against their conservative principles, knowing that John McCain is one issue away from being a full-blown liberal.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't understand why Republicans are just palading this crap, in my view. And I'd like to ask you, why are you palading it?
Well, I mean, I'm not. I mean, that's the thing that threw me off when originally you said, you know, I should take the conservative out of my name, because you didn't know my stances on anything. Just a quick question, like a yes/no question. After the last show, would you say that I agree with you on more things than you expected?
Well, yeah, but I mean, you've come into my chat room, MD,
okay, well,
and look.
Okay.
I mean, you can deny it all you want to, man. You were cursing like a damn sailor in my chat room. Maybe you don't say this kind of thing verbally, but you were being pretty filthy, pretty nasty in my chat room. But I'm used to it, because I'm used to that from the left. You know, I get death threats on a consistent basis and that sort of thing. But, you know, to sit here and have fellow Republicans, and I'm a lifelong Republican, my friend, and to sit here and have Republicans, you know, agitate me and use the methods of agitation just like the left. I mean, these are the same methods that the left are used on me, and to have fellow Republicans do it is just nonsense, man.
I mean, look, I know we're just going to get into debate who said first, but I mean, you told me to shove my chicken greasy finger thumb up my ass. I mean,
well, that's because I mean, obviously you've cursed at me, or you did something ridiculous, because I don't just go off the handle on anybody in my chat room.
Well,
I mean, you must have said something pretty bad.
I don't know. I mean, you can listen to the archives. I've just.
Well, look, I'll let that go, but I'm just saying, you know. Well, why are we fighting here, man? I mean, first of all, I understand we have dissension because I don't want to vote for McCain.
Right. Well, so that's it. I've lost track of where we were, but the McCain, I've never touted him. I didn't want him. The candidate I was supporting and still do in the primary is Fred Thompson. I mean, he's out, but I'm going to write him in because I can't vote for anyone else. He's the one I wanted all along, and you know, that is what. You
know what, conservative? Why were you agitating me in my chat room then? If you're voting for Thompson, writing in Thompson, I mean, are you just following like, you know, Jen and all these other Republican goons out here that you know? I mean, no, honestly, MD. I mean, come on, man.
Well, I'm going to give you an honest answer. I really think you need to go back and listen to your shows, kind of with a more open mind. You come off very harsh, and, you know, we can debate all day on who did what first, and especially with the chat rooms, since the chat rooms, you know, aren't archived. But I would say from this point on, you know, see where things go, and, you know, when I'm in your chat room again, if I'm, look, the only time that I would call names is that I would say names is if I was called names. So we're both in that, so we're stuck in the who said it first situation.
Yeah, but it just doesn't stop to my chat room. I mean, and this is what I've suggested to everybody who's been dissing me on the Republican side. Every time I patronize one of the BTR shows and I run across these Republicans that apparently hate me so bad, they're real quick to agitate me. They're real quick to talk garbage about me, and yet I respect everyone's show. I don't ever, you know, curse up a storm in anyone's chat room. I don't ever call up and make prank calls on people. None of that. All of those things I just mentioned have been done by Jen and other Republicans, and that's what's making me sick to my stomach, is that I'm used to these communist liberals doing it, and here I have my own, or what I thought was my own kind. I mean, I've been voting Republican for a very long time, And to sit here and see Republicans do this is just disheartening. It makes me want to puke. I mean, it makes me want to break something.
Okay, but see, you can say he's a rhino, which, you know, very clearly he's either is or just barely is hanging on to Republican. But in name, he is a Republican, and you feel you're justified to criticize McCain. So why aren't people allowed to criticize you?
Well, no, I mean, everybody can criticize me. I mean, hey, everybody's doing it now. I mean, like I said, I get written in the emails that, you know, people on BTR are talking garbage. They're dedicating shows to talk garbage about me. So, I mean, and it's not, I don't mind it if it's left-wing communists. I could care less. Okay? You know, they could piss off. But Republicans, man, that really leaves, you know, a bad flavor in my mouth.
But then what happens if, because look, I'll admit it, I've done it. But what happens if we really don't feel that you represent conservatives or and I know you've done away with Republican, but just for in the time period where you still did have it on before the last couple shows, if we disagree that your viewpoints aren't what the mainstream conservatism is, and I'll stick with that, but also say, and when I say Republican, I mean not the Republican Party that it's become. If we don't feel that you represent it, isn't it our duty to try to make our point that you don't?
No, the point is that I'm a conservative first and foremost. And the conservatives, and this has been my argument ever since I started this show, have been isolated by these social liberals that have hijacked the party. It's blatantly obvious with McCain's nomination, you know, them not acknowledging the border situation. All I hear John McCain, now he's saying that the first thing he's going to do is secure the borders. That's great. You're going to secure the borders with 20 million illegals in here, and you're going to give them amnesty. I mean, these are the same folks, and granted, you know, these liberals will put the humanitarian spin on it that, oh, well, these people want a better life and whatnot, but in the meantime, they're ruining the American family's life, the average American average American person's life by devaluing the cost of labor. And this is one issue that John McCain is just, he doesn't care. He doesn't care about the American family because he's obviously been divorced. He doesn't care about any of the conservative principles. The only thing that he has to fall back on is the fact that he's a fiscal conservative and that he's against pork barrel spending and all this garbage, and yet he just recently signed a bill to send $10 million to Arizona University, so I don't understand.
No, I can't defend McCain. I mean, you can go off for hours on him, and I really can't say anything. The only thing that I can say is that he is going to, and I think that's the one issue you're talking about, is he is going to continue to prosecute the war in the way that well, not completely the way. Look, besides everything else, the main reason that I couldn't support McCain from the beginning was because he thought waterboarding was torture. And the problem is I think the man is a hero. I think he served his country. However, when you go through the things he went through, and forget the divorces and everything else, but just his being a POW, when you have to go back into a position of leadership, like the presidency especially, that situation is going to make him react in a emotional way, and that is not how policy should be done. It should be done what needs to be done, not, God, that was horrible when I went through it, I can't allow other people to go through it. And
another thing I don't like, and this goes to what you're talking about here, you know, granted, then that's another thing that the Republicans are trying to praise McCain on, is that he's going to be a maverick, he's going to go out, kick ass, take names, and all this nonsense. But, I mean, with all due respect, what we're doing now is we're trying to spread democracy in parts of the world that have been suppressed by ruthless dictators and tyrants, and yet we have a candidate in the Republican Party that's going to, continue the war on terror, which is sowing the seeds of democracy, continue with the war in Iraq, continue with the war in Afghanistan, and yet the man is going to completely undermine our democracy, our democratic republic. He's going to put more government in our faces. He's going to put more bureaucracy in our faces. Just look at the man's record, and that goes to show you that this man has a regulation fetish. I mean, the man tried to regulate boxing, for Christ's sake.
Well, like I said, I really can't defend him. The only thing I can defend him on is the fact that I think he did serve honorably, And then, you know, outside of that, he has had good points of trying to, at times when he can be fiscally conservative. But other than that, I can't defend him. I mean, I'm kind of speechless because it's just I can't defend him. I've never really supported him.
Well, I don't understand why you're talking garbage to me then, because I hate the man. I mean, first of all, I'm not going to do an Ann Coulter and say that I'm going to vote for Hillary Rotten Clinton as a protest because, you know, my candidate wasn't nominated or anything like that. I think Ann Coulter is, you know, she needs to rethink that decision, and I think that she needs to, you know, maybe just not vote at all. That's exactly what I'm going to do, and that's exactly what I've told conservatives to do, not to vote for these people. I mean, I am not going to have anything to do with the embracing of social liberalism. I mean, what you have here is you have Hillary Clinton or Barack Obama, the communist side, and then you've got John McCain, which is the socialist side. So, you know, it's the, you know, which one do you want to get? You want socialism or communism?
Well, I mean, I guess I disagree with you on that because I look at the possibilities of being elected in. So right now, it's pretty much McCain on the Republican side, and then we got our pick of Obama or Hillary. So considering one of those three, unless some, you know, October surprise thing happens that is massive, one of those three will be our next president. Now, when in that situation, when McCain and look, I do love Bush, and I think as the years have gone on, he's failed me in a lot of ways. But in national security, he has done the correct things, and that's the most important thing to me. But when push came to shove on the immigration and the amnesty deal, they had to back down, both Bush and McCain. And so my question is, if you have one of those three in the White House, and the two of us are pushing and really trying to, you know, push against something or push for something, who do you think is going to be more receptive? I'm not saying it's going to be an open door. Oh, tell me what you think, I'll vote that way. But I just happen to think that McCain is more likely, not necessarily going to, but more likely to listen to us than either Hillary or Obama. They'll just disregard us completely.
Well, I think, and this is what I've suggested to folks that are conservatives out here, they need to, you know, go back to the grassroots level. And I hate to keep saying that because we, as the conservatives, we did once have power, and now it seems to be, you know, subliminally taken from us by turncoats that have basically put themselves in Republican clothing when in actuality they're a bunch of liberals. And I don't understand why there's not more Republicans talking about this, and this is what really upsets me, is that I'm being chastised by Republicans on BTR, and yet they're not talking about what's going on to our party. You know, they're more worried about, you know, putting up smoke screens and diverting attention from the conversation than actually talking about the fact that we've got a liberal running for president. You know what makes John McCain one issue, or two issues that make him not liberal? First issue, you know, he says he's pro-life, which I don't believe, but he says it. And then the next issue is the war. And other than that, he's a damn liberal. Outside of everything else, he's a liberal. I mean, just look at the legislation that he's pushed. You know, McCain-Feingold, which is an unconstitutional bill, by the way. But McCain-Feingold...
I agree completely.
I mean, Feingold being one of the most liberal Democrats on the other side of the aisle. McCain... Go ahead.
Have you ever wondered how that state went from McCarthy to Feingold?
You know, I have no idea. But it's but you know, I've alluded to the fact, and this has happened to the Republicans, is that it's because of the propaganda. I mean, these you know, I have to give it to the left. They are the masters of propaganda. I mean, they are unbelievable. As a matter of fact, the father of propaganda and basic hardcore staunch leftism, Karl Marx, I mean, that was the foundation of creating the whole communist state that was in his brain, is to constantly just push propaganda in people's faces. And that's what I think that's happened to the Republican Party, and I think that's what's happened in certain states that used to be on the Republican conservative side. They are now on the liberal Republican side. And I just can't accept that, and I'm surprised more folks are accepting it. But you see, you put all this into the equation, everything that I've been talking about, MD, the decimation of the American family, the fact that we have social ills as the social norms. You've got people having 6, 7 kids from 6 or 7 different partners. I mean, you take all this into consideration, and then it comes very clear on why these people, and I'm talking on both sides of the political persuasion, don't care. They don't care because, I mean, it's in the back burner. It's something of the past. In my view, if we continue on the downward spiral that we're going towards, excuse me, I'm trying to read the chat room and talk at the same time. If we keep going down this road, I just think that, I mean, I've suggested on what this world would look like, but to be honest with you, I don't know, and I really don't want to know.
Well, I mean...
Hold on just a second. I got another call here from the 608. Go ahead and talk, though. 608, you there?
Ghost?
Hey, how you doing?
You know this is White Rose.
How you doing, White Rose?
I just called in because I needed some comfort. I know you talk wild, but you know what? You got a heart of gold.
Oh, thank you very much.
You do. You know, you've been there to support me, and I got blasted, and I just wanted to, I don't know, maybe you would blast me too. I don't know.
You got blasted? What do you mean?
Yeah, well, you know where I'm coming from. I'm talking about the United States Department of Peace, and I became a member of the Blog Talk email group, and I, joined in with the rest of the group and just, like everybody else, I talked about my my show and what I was trying to do, and just got a really weird response and ruffled a little. If you want to know what the deal is, I'll tell you, but I don't want to take up your time. You don't want to hear about it, but if you want to know the details...
Well, MD, do you mind?
No, I'm quite curious.
I don't want to interfere, but talking about peace should not be such an antagonizing thing. I don't care where you are, right, left. I think we all want some peace in this world. Okay?
Sure.
Ghost, am I right?
Absolutely. Well, of course, we all want peace.
Okay, well, here I am, a newbie. No great talk show host, I'm a newbie, and this is what I just said, and I'll give you the response I got from this Blog Talk Yahoo group, okay?
Okay.
Are you ready?
Sure.
Are you ready? You going to listen?
We're listening.
Okay. I started out with, this is White Rose. The United States Department of Peace is looking for people working hard to make peace a reality in our country. I have access to the Peace Alliance and those within that legislative campaign, but I want to open this up to individuals who are making some waves for peace all across this country and the world. I am sure guests will start flowing in. I am relatively new at this, but here I am using this networking tool to see what people here have to add. Please give me your suggestions. Do any of you have any peace activists that you would like to see on my show? Do you have any contact information or where I could find it or whatever? Anyway, but you know what? The first reaction I got was a set of 6 colons with capital words, capital letters, groan. Somebody just said groan. Okay, so
they were like antagonizing you?
They just said groan, and my response to that was, and I thought I was respectful. I said, that was interesting, ... care to explain? And it doesn't end there.
Well, you know what? I mean, you should see the amount of garbage that I get in my room.
No, sweetheart, I ain't done yet. You think I'm done?
No, well, what happened? Yeah, let us in.
Okay, hold on. I didn't take that one out. Oh, jeez. Hold on. I have to find it. somebody came back and told me about the rag-headed people who were trying to kill us. Hold on. Sorry, Ghost.
No, it's okay.
You gotta hear this. This is just amazing.
Oh, you gonna play it for us?
No, I'm gonna read. No, play it.
Oh.
No. It's just email. This is okay. So Rosie, me. Have you ever asked our gutless, rag-headed terrorist enemies if they want peace? Last time I checked, they still, STIL, all capitalized, want to destroy us. Have you noticed? Okay. I gave them a very, this is just, what the hell? I didn't ask for this kind of stuff. I was just asking for people who wanted to talk about peace. And all of a sudden I got these people jumping down my neck, okay? Hello?
I think MD wanted to ask you ask a question. What's going on,
Ask
MD?
away. What's your question?
Did that the gutless raghead comment? Did it come from have initials PC?
No.
Okay, just sounds familiar, but sorry.
I'm looking. I did really nice. I did a good response. Hold on. Sorry, Ghost. Okay. Well, okay. The first thing I said was, this is kind of nice. Did I say this? I support our troops too. Just listen to my last show. We had a veteran on as our special guest. I am not anti-military, and I am not a hippie. Not sure if this is what you are alluding to. That is an old stereotype that is easy to just throw at anyone trying to promote building a more peaceful culture in our world. Before anyone makes assumptions, I wish they would please take the time to really get to know what the facts are in this movement. There are a lot of different, in quotes, peace movements out there. This one is different. It really could make a difference and respect all parties involved. And that is what I am here for. That is what I am requesting here.
So
I have not shown anyone here any disrespect and do not intend to. Why? I don't blame anybody.
So they're basically, taking what you are suggesting, which is, trying to perpetuate peace with the Department of Peace, which I don't particularly agree with all due respect, Rose, but
I don't care.
They are chastising you. They just,
They suggested that I run out and find out. They told me I should go out and find out who's trying to destroy us. Excuse me.
Well, what's unfortunate is that people talk a lot out of just spontaneity and impulsiveness.
It was just mean, Why?
Of course.
That?
You know what, Rose? Let me read you a couple of the emails that I get on a consistent basis here. Here's one from Gina from Arizona. You are the biggest male pig I've ever heard in my life. Someone needs to throw you off the air before people actually start listening to you.
Oh my God.
I've got one. This is my favorite right here. It's one of the most disgusting. So if you've eaten breakfast, turn away, folks. It says, you are a sexist asshole. This is from Emma from Illinois.
Oh, my God.
You are a sexist asshole. I hope someone slices off your head and menstruates down your throat. I am a woman. Hear me roar. Emma from Illinois.
Oh, Lord.
And this is the kind of I get hundreds of this garbage daily.
No, I don't deny it. No, I don't know what you're dealing with, and I don't even know a lot of what you're dealing with. All I can say is, I'm going through some heavy shit. You were there to support me before, and whether or not we agree or disagree, I know that I can come to you, and you're not going to jump down my throat. We can have conversation. If nothing else, we might disagree, but at the very least, we're going to come away friends, no matter how much
Absolutely. And that's what I'm trying to tell most folks out here. And I'm glad that I've got MD, because MD conservative, me and him were kind of taking pop shots at each other for a little bit. And that's why we're up here talking. You know, we're talking, and that's the way things should be. It should be done through civil discourse. That's the democracy we live in. We need to try to maybe not change each other's minds, but see each other's perspective so we can come into some sort of common ground.
You know what? Go cherish each other as human beings. You got your voice. I have mine. Thank God we live in a country where we can be different.
Absolutely. Well, you know, and this is what I've been discussing with MD here. And MD, I thought I was going to get a little bit more opposition from you. I thought you were really supporting McCain, but I'm glad to hear you're not, my friend. But as soon as you...
I never have. I probably, if he's the nominee, I probably will vote for him because I think I stand a better chance of basically, if any of the three are going to listen to me, my best shot is with him, and that's why I'm doing it. But otherwise, he would, no, Ron Paul would be the last person I'd vote for. But
you know what, MD, Ron Paul, you know, I hate to say that. I've talked a lot of garbage about Ron Paul, but, you know, the more and more I am just completely disgusted with the Republican Party, and obviously I never really liked the Democratic Party, but, you know, Ron Paul, I completely disagree with his foreign policy, and I think he's kind of nutty when it comes to his economic policy. But, I mean, the man's a conservative. And that's why he's resonating with Republicans out here, because he's a conservative first and foremost. And I mean, I'm thinking, you know, if you know, I haven't made a decision yet. But if I'm going to vote, I'm going to vote on a protest. I'm going to make a protest vote, and I'm sure as hell not going to vote for Hillary Rodham or Barack Obama. I mean, Ron Paul's starting to look like a viable option in my view.
Well, I mean, that's our country. I just disagree with. I mean, I think that right now, with the conflict we're going through, foreign policy is most important. I think he has the worst foreign policy, especially in regards to the military, and that's kind of you know, you have some people that their one issue is they vote based on abortion, whether it's pro-choice or pro-life, and kind of my one issue, if you will, I think about others, but my one issue is national security in the military, and the way that he stands on that, I just simply, I would, if Ron Paul was the nominee, I could not vote for him. I wouldn't vote for anyone. It's ridiculous, his foreign policy.
And hey, believe me, this whole election is ridiculous, to be honest with you, because we are going to lose some inalienable rights.
How?
Well, first of all, obviously, what's going to happen is if any of the...
I'm not here to make history. I don't want to see the first woman or the first black man make it in Congress.
Oh, that's just schematics.
That's nothing. I want to see somebody that's going to do something. That's where I'm coming from. Somebody going to do something to help turn this whole thing around.
And you see, what's unfortunate is that, look, if I'm going to, you know, people want me to vote for McCain because they want me to stay loyal to the party. But this man is just completely against the conservative principles. Now, they're trying to push on me. Every one of these Republicans that are trying to convince me to vote for him, they're trying to push on me that he's a fiscal conservative because he doesn't like pork barrel spending or whatever the garbage is, even though he just signed $10 million to go to Arizona University. But at the same time, they're also trying to say that he's conservative on his foreign policy. But the foreign policy that we have right now, the reason Bush has implemented this foreign policy is what I thought is to spread democracy in parts of the world that are being subjugated by tyrants through radical theocracy. Now, in my view, if we elect somebody like McCain, who's obviously going to throw more regulation at us. I mean, you know, he doesn't look too highly on those who talk against him anyway. I wouldn't be surprised if he starts silencing those dissenters. I wouldn't be surprised if he pushes legislation to put, you know, to oppress us as people and put more bureaucracy to regulate us. I mean, how is that perpetuating democracy when we have, you know, a semi-tyrant, you know, who's in the White House, who's basically suppressing their people? Because I actually believe that John McCain will do this. I mean, just look at his record.
Well, I think that you could be right. I disagree. I mean, I don't disagree on the fact that John McCain is not the candidate that I want. That's why you know, I did a show, part of a show. One of the segments was why I support Fred Thompson. I donated to the campaign. When I talked to people, I did try to convince them. I'm not sitting here trying to tell you to vote for McCain. I can't do that. I said I don't want to, but I probably will vote for McCain, but I can't support him. I can't bring myself to give money to him. I can't bring myself to say to people, you have to vote McCain. I can say, well, I honestly believe if we have any chance of being heard, it's going to be through him, not the others, and that's the best shot we got. But you talk about the pork barrel spending. I mean, one of the debates, Ron Paul was confronted with that, I believe, and he said, well, of course I bring all that money back because it's taxpayer money that's in mine, and he defended bringing huge amounts of earmarks back while saying he was against them. So he's not all that, Ron Paul's not all that above.
Well, I mean, as far as his conservative stances on certain domestic issues is the only reason I'm even looking twice at him. I mean, to be honest with you, he's not very leader-esque, so to speak. And, he kind of, goes off the deep end. But before I go off on it, I'm going to bring in Cuba for Freedom. Are you there?
Yes, Ghost, how are you? This is John from Cuba Compagnoni.
How you doing?
Good. Listen, excellent show. I wanted to ask you a question about what your view is on the concept of Ron Paul that he has of bringing back, money backed by gold and silver. Do you think that's a viable thing that we could do?
Well, the economics system that we're under right now is just so completely bureaucratic and complicated, excuse me. And I would like to go back to the gold standard. I would like to have our currency backed up by something. But unfortunately, I think that we're too far gone to go back to the gold system at this point. I mean, I think the country is in so much debt at this point that by doing so would only cause the country to go into complete, probably something below depression.
I was analyzing that because the dollar has been collapsing, just internationally. In the last couple of months, gold has gone to the highest it's been in I don't know how many decades. Silver hasn't been this high since the 80s. And that was something that I liked about his platform. If not making the whole currency backed by gold and silver, then maybe a percentage, like having some kind of super dollar or something that could give us maybe some kind of advantage to stabilize our currency. But the debt ratio that you're talking about is something that is destroying the country.
Absolutely.
When you had this $600, $1,000, they have to borrow that $150 billion from future generations to give it to this generation. And then they started talking on television. This disturbed me greatly as a Cuban exile. A lot of these products that you buy in some of these places, they're not even made in the United States.
Absolutely not.
So the money is not really going to help a lot of the economic situation here. It's going to go overseas. So this is a fool's errand that we're on with this $150 billion liberal.
Oh yeah, you know something, Cuba? I'm glad you brought that up because I completely disagree, and I love George W. Bush, believe me. But he started to do some precarious things just to save his own political hide, with all due respect. And I think this, $150 billion, you're talking about the stimulus package, right?
Well, the so-called stimulus package is going to put more in debt.
Absolutely. I completely disagree with it because, first of all, you're just basically pacifying the problem long enough so whoever's elected president come next year, they're going to have this fall on their lap. I think that we haven't seen the worst of it.
No,
now,
I think you're absolutely right when it comes to this because I'm using this company as an example. Let's say you go to Walmart. I went to Walmart the other day. Most of the products that I saw, I actually had to go and look at the tags, tag by tag, because I only purchase products from countries that are, free nations. They have a capitalist system. I refuse to give my money to communist China. I'm sorry. I just don't want to do that. The slave labor, the abuses, the human rights abuses.
Absolutely, and then utilizing communism as a form of exploitation of labor out of their people.
Exactly, and what are we doing? You're going to take this money. They were talking to people. They said, well, we're going to go and we're going to shop and we're going to buy this. And I'm thinking to myself, well, all this money is going to be leaving.
It's going to go right back to China. We're going to borrow from China just to give it right back to them.
Basically. That's basically this whole thing. And they had some talking heads on TV, and they said, well, why didn't they give everybody $50,000 or $100,000? It's the same concept.
Absolutely.
$1,000 or $600 or $300 a kid. I mean, they could have said, listen, I'm going to give everybody, a new car, a new house, and $1 million. And then somebody else, my great-grandchildren, your great-grandchildren will be paying this off as slaves in the future. That's all.
And somebody really needs to address the deficit issue. In my view, I figure that we're already in Iraq. And I think that we paid a lot in debt. We paid a lot in American lives. I don't understand why we're not pumping out that oil and generating some funds on the world market to generate some funds to recoup this debt that we're in there for.
Do you remember when this war began?
That's what they stated that was going to happen. The oil was going to pay for everything, right?
The oil was going to pay for everything, that the American people were not going to be responsible for any of this, that the government of Iraq was going to pay for everything through the oil, the Mosul, the oil fields down in, what is this place called? Basra, Kirk. All these places were going to pay for this. But you know what? They haven't. And this is something that we're going to be saddled with.
Absolutely.
Not only that, but the loss of lives.
Well, yeah.
My
daughter.
How many young kids have been killed?
Listen,
in the process?
My daughter right now is in Bucharest.
I got first now.
Right now, I sent her 2 weeks ago, and she wants to follow in my footsteps and have some kind of military career to thank this nation for the freedoms that she enjoys. Now, do I want her to go off on some fool's errand? Or do I want her protecting the country the way it was supposed to be, like the National Guard was for the protection of the nation, not to be sending, out to different places except in a crazy situation, let's say like World War II or something crazy.
Sure.
But this is something that we're dealing with. Now, when I have grandkids or I have great-grandkids, if God gives me that long, they're going to be paying for my $1,000 check or whatever it is they're going to send me, $600 or whatever it is. They're going to be paying for this. I'm going to be long dead, and they're going to be saddled with all of this debt. The thing is, what kind of America is going to exist in 50 or 60 years?
I'm thinking within the next 10, or hell, even 4. I mean, it doesn't look very good. As a matter of fact, I think that we're going to lose not only the sovereignty of America because of the amnesty situation with the illegal immigrants, but at the same time, the devaluing of currency is definitely something that needs to be looked upon. What's unfortunate is that the economic system that's constructed is so complicated that the average everyday American layman is not going to understand what you say when you suggest to them that the American dollar is losing value. They don't understand that. And I don't know if MD or White Rose has anything to say about it. Y'all, what's y'all's take on the economy?
It's confusing. All I can tell you is that I've got a daughter who doesn't have a degree, and all the jobs that she's trying to apply for got shipped off. She's just a laborer. She just wants to make $10 an hour to make it, and all those jobs got shipped out. Where did they go?
Back in 1995, 94, I don't exactly remember the year. I remember Rush Limbaugh was against this NAFTA treaty, all these treaties that they were trying to do. And I remember, it was something very curious. Jesse Jackson, of all people, actually came out and endorsed Rush Limbaugh, saying this was going to be a catastrophic event for the average working American. Now, these two guys...
It's happened. Oh, don't even tell me. Don't tell me. It hasn't. It has happened. My daughter
I'm agreeing with you.
is there now.
No, I'm agreeing with you. What I'm trying to say is when you have such disparate characters as Rush Limbaugh and Jesse Jackson, and they actually come together and say, we agree on this, and this is going to be disastrous for America. Ross Perot was another guy, the giant sucking sound, and this prophecy has come true. You cannot have. I live in an area here in the South, a poor area. The South is still very poor, and the jobs that the average kids, you could get out of high school and you can get a job and support your family. Those jobs are gone. They don't exist anymore.
Well, let me give you another idea here. This is another catastrophe. I have a master's degree. I am over 50. I got 4.0s in both my degrees. Nobody wants to hire me.
What do you have it in, Rose?
I have a bachelor's in digital design and a master's in human resources, but I don't have the experience. I raised kids all my life. Nobody wants to look at my...
May I give you a suggestion?
I haven't had many, even from national organizations.
Well, I'll give you a suggestion. It doesn't cost you
I'm making my own job right now at this point.
Listen, there's a lot of online universities.
That's where I got my degree.
Okay.
Some of the toughest. And I am almost 50% of the people in my school don't make it. They don't. It is so hard. And I did it alone raising 2 grandkids.
Yeah, but what
and I pushed, and I had many sleepless nights, but I pushed to 4.0, and now nobody's going to hire me.
Hold on a second. I wanted to bring in MD. He's been sitting there patiently. MD, you want to chime in?
Well, I mean, on the economic regards, that's just not my forte, so I plead ignorance, and I can't really talk about that. The thing that does interest me is the Department of Peace. I mean, if you want to go down that path or not, it's your show, but that is something that's I'm always curious to hear people explain why they would support that.
Well, we'll go in that in a second, but I wanted to get to Rose's point because, you know, she's one of millions of people that are having trouble in this economy out here.
Amen.
And what's unfortunate is that not only do we have a declining dollar, and I agree 100% with you, Cuba, you know, we've basically signed lopsided trade deals to basically send all the means of production that were in the United States out of the United States. And the only thing that we produce now as a culture, the United States, are entertainment and cheeseburgers. That's the only thing that we produce. We produce absolutely nothing to compete with anybody on the world market, let alone on the market itself. And I think that there needs to be something rectified about that right there. We need to go back to the World Trade negotiating table. We need to negotiate better trade deals. And as far as China is concerned, I think we need to basically disconnect or try to do something with China to try to nullify all the profits they're making off of our consumption. Because I want
to offer you something else that I'm a little pissed off about, and I think you can get the word out.
What's that?
I think it's a crack for you know, the government to give all these educational loans out to people, especially in my age group, unless they have an ironclad way of helping them find a friggin' job. Why the hell should they give us the loans? You know, they should forecast or get some idea and not use us because, you know what? No matter what happens, you know, down the road, they're going to get their money and they could make me homeless. They can take whatever away from me to make me pay back those loans, regardless if I can find a job or not, whatever my income is. After I get done with my deferments, I've looked for a job for over a year. They're going to take my food money away. That's our government. That's the way it is. The student loan system is a crock.
Well, you know,
I hate it. They should not give people loans if they can't find a job.
Well, this is the problem with that. Oh, go ahead, Cuba, if you have something.
No, I was gonna also ask you. I don't want to break Rose's message, but I was gonna ask you one of the things, and you tell me if you know what your opinion is on this, MD. I wouldn't mind listening to you and Rose. One of the things that America has become has been a net importer. And one of the things that we need to do is once again become a net exporter. And I think one of the ways to do this is, and this is my opinion, I'd rather pay an American farmer, let's say $4 a gallon for ethanol or biodiesel, than sending that money to Saudi Arabia or Venezuela with Chavez or to the enemies of the United States. So at least the money stays here in this country, and it's a $1 billion a day deficit that we're putting out. We're importing I don't know how many millions of barrels now a day.
Let me give you just a footnote in here. I live in Monroe, Wisconsin. We've got an ethanol plant right here. I put ethanol. 25% At least once a month, twice a month. That's what I put in my tank.
Well, the downfall of
doing
ethanol.
The best I can.
The downfall of ethanol, in my view, it's just never going to be cheap enough, and it's never going to be efficient enough to beat, unfortunately, gasoline.
At least I try. I want to put the source here in our country. I don't want foreign oil here.
I think that since we're in Iraq, why aren't we taking the oil there to recoup the debts that we're incurring for this war? I don't understand why no more Americans aren't more upset about it.
3 points. Number one, I think that is what has to happen is we can't take the oil, but the Iraqi government should stand up and deal with our government and pay us back, because if we just, quote, take it, then we just feed into the whole left-wing idea of it's blood for oil, which it's not. So we need to talk with the Iraqi government and tell them and explain to them, which I think could happen, but we need to have the country secure first. The second thing was, is ethanol the one that's made from corn?
Yeah.
Yes,
right.
Yes.
There have been studies done that simply state that we could not produce enough corn to make enough fuel for all the people. It's just impossible.
No, I know. I know that is impossible. I know that is impossible.
And it's going to raise the price of corn.
There are other things besides corn. Now, let's not.
Let me give you.
There's a lot.
Let me give you a good example, okay? Let me give you a good example. I live here on the Gulf Coast, and most people don't know, but sugarcane grows here. You can grow sugarcane as north as Montgomery, Alabama. Most people don't realize this. It hasn't been grown since the colonial period, but at one time it was. And they still, they used to make some of the best, moonshine out of sugarcane.
Right.
And some people
Gotcha,
still do.
buddy.
But in Louisiana, there's still many plantations. Florida has a huge sugarcane thing, and I think it's something that could be grown in the latitudes, I would say, south of Georgia, of Atlanta, Georgia. I mean, there's other products that we can use. I'm not saying that we have to depend on ethanol, but if it comes, if it was up to me, I go to, there's a gas station chain here. I don't know if it exists where you're at, Ghost. It's called Murphy Oil.
No, I haven't heard of it.
Okay, Murphy Oil is a company. It's in the Midwest. It's in Louisiana, different places. And they mix all of their oil with 10% ethanol. So it basically could run on any car and any gas. You don't need a special ethanol car. Now, can I get my, Exxon normal gasoline? Yeah. But I know that if I go over here, maybe some of that money reaches some American farmers instead of all of the money ending up in some bank in Saudi Arabia to be used against us.
Believe me, I understand. I understand where you're coming from when it comes to the oil.
Can I give you my own ignorant overview of this?
Go ahead.
Well, I have one last.
Yeah.
Hold on. What were you going to say, MD? I'm sorry, Rose.
I have
You're
one
done,
last.
MD.
One last question. I mean, you were talking about the loans that you received, and that the government's not helping you get a job after they get it. Why is that their responsibility? And did they force you to take the loan? Last time I checked, when you take a loan, you have to sign up for it. You were knowledgeable of it.
Of course I was. Of course I was. But I assumed that there would be an economy that would hire me after I got out, after I got this education.
Well, but
I assumed that there would be a job, but we're in an economy that does not respect my age or the experience or the brains I have. So there you go.
You know what, Rose? I think what you may have to do is you may have to just try to look in other parts of the country. I mean,
I have looked, sweetie. I have a national organization looking for me. They gave up. Somebody 54 years old with my brains and my experience and my degrees, they're not looking for me.
Well, I just want you to know that you're just not the only one that's happening to. I mean, you have, and you see, this is another thing I have a problem with, is that you've got a whole generation of kids out here that are going to colleges because, they're pumped with, by this public liberal education system, they're pumped with this idea that the foundation of going into high school and graduating is to go to college.
Oh,
And
get an education, but you know what? What happens after you get that education?
yeah, and that's the point. The point is that you get the education, and what these kids do is they go out and they try to go to these vanity universities, the universities that are going to cost you about $50,000 a year, and they end up putting it all in debt, and let's say they do get a job. Well, they get a $50,000 a year job, $60,000 a year job. What's the first thing they're going to do? You think they're going to live modestly and pay back their debt? Absolutely not. They're going to go out. They're going to get the house. They're going to get the car. They're going to get all the furniture. They're going to get everything that's out there. And basically,
I'd be just happy to find a friggin' job.
Yeah, well, I'm sorry to hear that, Rose. And you know what? We've got another caller here. I just want to bring them on the line, whoever this is. 541, excuse me, you're on the air.
Hi, it's Flag Gazer. I just wanted to tell you guys that I am going to say goodnight since nobody's watching the chat room. I didn't want you to think I left mad or something. And I also wanted you to know that you have a troll in there who wants us all to know that Clinton was not impeached.
You know what, Flag Gazer? I thought you were a man.
I know everybody does. But I'm not.
That really surprised. I'm shocked. I mean, I've said a lot of bad things to you, and you're
you
female.
Have.
And I'm sorry. I didn't realize you were a female. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I didn't deserve what you said to me either, but that's okay. That's not the point. Anyway, I thought you'd want to know about your troll, and I wanted to say goodnight.
We have a troll in the house.
Yeah, Clinton was not impeached.
Oh, boy.
And the war is for oil. You know the whole story.
Mm-hmm. It's unfortunate. And you know what, Flag Gazer, thank you for tuning in the whole shebang here. Back in Ozone's room and now over here. Thank you for tuning in, and good night to you.
Okay, good night all.
Bye, Flag.
Bye.
Good night.
Flag's been listening to our show. She's a great listener. She participates in the chat room. She's someone very well versed and always participates in not only your show, Ghost, but I mean she's everywhere.
Yeah, believe me.
So that's.
But she likes to talk a lot of garbage to me. That's why I thought it was a man. Some of the things that she said to me. I mean. That's why I'm in shock right now. I'm like, the ham sandwich I ate earlier is starting to come back up, because I can't believe that I've been, chastised and personally attacked so harshly by this female. Anyway, it's beside the point.
And she was sweet.
Listen, if she didn't like the show, she would have tuned out. Obviously, everybody's having I don't agree with you 100%, but there's a lot of things that you have in common with me, and MD, there's a lot of things I don't agree with you, but there's a lot more things that you have in common with me. So we stick together, or like they say, the pirates used to say, they'll hang us separately,
I hear you. And, I just, the reason I'm so hot-headed, I get a lot of criticism for the fact that I sound so angry and I'm such a bad guy, the way I come across. Isn't that MD, isn't that what you and Jen suggested on the previous show, is that the things that I say is just, I mean, I don't want to put words in your mouth.
Yeah, well, I mean, that's the thing. I mean, you've said that it's because you're passionate about it, but it comes across as just fury. Just absolute, but it comes across as, and while, in your mind, and it very well could be, I'm not in your mind, it's completely justified, it comes across as unjustified, misdirected anger, and it's kind of, when you have the problem with how the Republican Party is, that, with everyone that's tuning into your show, if you want to help save the American family, and some people
I'll help you, Ghost. You let me know how I can help you to save the American family. I'll be the first one on your bandwagon,
But if some people call some names, it's probably better at some point to just either ban them or turn the other cheek, because you're going to contact more people because when I look at my shows, the reason I never ban Fred from my shows or anyone else is because I feel that those are the people that I want to stay around, and everybody else can block them. But think about it. We don't need to preach to the choir We don't need the people that already agree with us to listen. We need the people that disagree. Those are the people we need to affect. And so when you're angry over it and passionate over it, in your mind it comes across as angry. And regardless of who starts the name calling, when it's your show and you're calling people names in the chat room, regardless of what they did, whether it's justified or not, everyone just shuts their ears off, and it just becomes kind of whether rightfully or not, it becomes kind of like a joke, and then everybody just kind of starts laughing. We need to contact the people that aren't already on our side, and either move them towards us or convince them that the way that we want to do things, or as close to it as possible, is the right way.
Ghost, can I give you a good example?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, I deal with people. Okay, and at the university, I've had students who come in and they have a Che Guevara shirt. And my family was a victim of his, violent and murderous ways.
Sure.
And I asked them, I say, I don't get angry at him, I don't scream at him. I say, what does that mean to you? In other words, most of the kids, they're like, oh, he was some guy from South America. They don't even have a clue.
I know, it's ridiculous.
Okay? So what I do, instead of screaming at him or getting ugly with him, I say, this guy was a murderer. He killed thousands of people in Cuba. In his own diary he mentioned this. Really? I didn't know that. Well, listen, why don't you just check out his own diary in his own handwriting? Really? Where can I get it? Well, listen, go to the library.
Yeah.
Next thing you know, the guy comes back. I had one specific fella who was a member of a fraternity. He was I'm an alumni from one of the fraternities or whatever. He shows up at a meeting. He has one of these shirts on. I said, man, are you kidding me? And everybody looked at him because everybody knew. And they took him to the side. I said, no, he doesn't have to take his shirt off. And he was a foreigner from another country. And I tried to explain to him what it was. And the next thing I know, the next day he showed up with the shirt cut into little pieces in a bag and gave it to me. He said, here, go bury this or set it on fire. I had no clue what this meant. So I was able to get him to my point of view without screaming at him or calling him names. I know you're very passionate about, the things that you believe in. And believe it or not, the majority of the people that you have had conflicts with are really people that hold very similar or very close views to yours, except they're not, they might not necessarily be exactly the same views that you have. Like, let me give you an example. If I asked you right now, I asked you in the chat room, if I said to you, what do you think of Castro? You're going to say, man, I hate that guy. Well, what do you think of Chavez? Well, he's a goon. I mean, that's what, you don't like them. We have more in common than you think. Do you understand what I'm saying?
Absolutely. I mean, I despise communists. First of all, I think they're a sick group. I mean,
and they have a plan, and they've had a plan since before when Marx started. They had a plan, and they've been using this little plan in many different countries around the world, and unfortunately here.
Yeah, absolutely, they're doing it here. And I wanted to comment on what you were talking about, the Che Guevara shirt. I heard Chris Matthews, and I don't like watching the mainstream media. I only watch it for political theater. I don't ever get my news gathering from these pieces of trash because, I mean, like I've stated previous, in this day and age of the Internet, I mean, when you've got basically the world of 1 billion libraries at your fingertips and news organizations and independent people, I mean, when you have this much information at your fingertips, and you're still looking at the mainstream media for your news gathering, you're an absolute Nimrodic buffoonery. Okay, but that's besides the point. The reason I was getting back to this Che Guevara situation, you had Chris Matthews, who tried to confront somebody. It was a while back. He said, "Hey, look, my son wears a Che Guevara shirt. Do you think that there's something wrong with that?" And I think he posed that to a Republican or conservative. And the conservative said, yeah, that this man was a communist. He murdered a lot of people. I mean, and Matthews tried to justify why his son was wearing a Che Guevara shirt, that it's different from actually wearing a Karl Marx shirt. And I don't really see the difference, to be honest with you.
No, they were both, one with his philosophy has murdered hundreds of millions of people over I don't know how many decades now. And the other one, he did his crimes. He did all kinds of things. He was complicit. If you're interested, Ghost, I'll tell you the story. On December 5th, 1958, my grandfather, who was a member of the Cuban military, he would have been the equivalent today of like a technician. or a specialist. He cut hair. He was a hair cutter. That's what he did at his base. He did it for 20 years. He was able to raise 4 boys, maintain a family, his wife, my grandmother, and they called him up. This was towards the end of the revolution, and they asked him if he would take a shift to do some guard duty. And he was a very well-liked man. He was an apolitical man after 20 years in the service because he was not a Batista follower. The highest rank he ever achieved was that of corporal. And what did they do to this man? One of Che Guevara's detachments ambushed him and the other 2 men in the truck. They pulled him out and they put 5 bullets in his back. So this is the kind of system that I have opposed. And you see this in the United States in the form of these, political buffoons that you just mentioned. Well, my son wears this shirt. What's so wrong about that? I mean, they have no concept. They have no clue. And this is the cancer that starts spreading.
Oh yeah, and then the motorcycle diaries. I mean, they're trying to humanize this guy.
Yeah, it's the same thing with Michael Moore when he did his, Cuba's such a great place. And today you had something, I don't want to beat the Cuban topic to death, but that's, what I talk about.
Sure.
But today you had an MD, you'll probably fall off your chair listening to this. I don't know if you heard it. The Olympic Committee of England, of Great Britain, is making all of their athletes sign a document stating that they will not in any way, shape, or form criticize the government of China for human rights abuses and other crimes while they are participating at the Olympics by threat of expulsion. In other words, if they're interviewed and they say, you know what, this is a nice place, but the people are, oppressed, they don't have freedom to worship as they choose, they don't have a democracy where they could vote for the candidate of their choice, they will be dragged out of there, put on a plane, and sent back to London. That is...
that's called BS.
Yeah, that's... Rose, you said it the best.
I hate China. I mean, China is probably one of the most despicable, social experiments on the face of the planet, and it really disgusts me. And I understand where you're coming from when you check all labels there, Cuba, about seeing if anything's made from China. It's hard to find something made from anywhere else nowadays.
You know where I like to shop from?
Who's that?
Any single time I see some product that's made in the Republic of China, which is Taiwan, I will go and purchase it because they have been firm allies of the United States, even though the United States broke diplomatic relations with them just so they could have relations with Communist China. Any country that is, a free, multi-party country, I try to buy their products. I don't buy anything made in I still call it the Soviet Union, in Russia, because they're sliding into some kind of, I don't even know what to call it with Putin.
They're going back to communism.
I do a lot of work with Russia slash the USSR, and they were Russia for a while. But now they're going back to the hammer and sickle.
Yeah, with some of the methodologies.
The wall falling down was just a symbol.
Well, they had a chance. They did have an opportunity, but all you had was gangsterism.
Yeah, the rise of the Russian mafia was horrible.
Yeah, you had gangsterism, and then you needed a strong man. You needed a
they held
character.
That's exactly the way they're goofing their people back into communist servitude, if you will. Mm-hmm. They're basically stating that, hey, the Russian mob, we need to take guns off the street. No, you could still go to Russia, and you have to be kind of meek if a Russian soldier comes up to you and asks you if you want to, or it doesn't ask you, he tells you that he wants to search you. Who are you? You have to have ID.
Yeah.
It's just ridiculous. And there's no probable cause. There's no rights. You can be jailed. You can go to jail for something as frivolous as the equivalent of the United States misdemeanor, and you can be jailed and wait up to 4 or 5 years for a trial.
Yep. Well, you're right about that.
That's just horrible.
This is what they're dealing with. This is what they're the mentality that they're exporting. I don't think Putin is a friend of the United States. I never have. They poisoned with some kind of radiological substance. They poisoned that outspoken dissident in England recently. I don't know if you guys heard.
Oh yeah, that assassination of that. I remember it vividly.
Yeah, they assassinated that man. They
what do
did it.
What do you expect when an ex-KGB guy takes over?
Well, see, that's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. You have these elements, and then you have, on the Democratic side, you have a man like
and you
Obama.
know what? What's scary is that it could become that public, and they could get away with it.
Yeah, exactly. That's even worse. That everybody knows, and nothing's happened. There has been no extradition. If anything else, they've clamped down on Great Britain's interest in present Russia. They closed down one of their social clubs, expelled a couple of their diplomats, tit for tat, persona non grata. And this is something that, nobody talks about here. It's like that's forgotten. You listen to the mainstream media, and most of it is fluff. You know what I learned today, Ghost?
What's that?
I learned today that Amy Winehouse won 5 Grammys. Last week they released a video of her smoking crack.
Oh, yeah.
Taking ecstasy pills. And this is the person that gets the 5 Grammys. This is, and they gave her a visa to enter the country after they denied her. This is what what you get on the media. They don't say, they don't talk about these topics, and if they do, they're very quick, and they take them away. One of the reasons that you and all the other conservative Blog Talk hosts and all these other people are very successful on the internet is because the views that you're exposing are views that, although they do exist in the mainstream media, there's a lot of the conservative voice that has been shut from, these people who have monopolized talk radio and the mainstream media, both on the left and the right. One of the reasons our show is so successful is not because everybody wants to learn about Cuba. It's because the Cuban exile community, second, third generation that are English speakers, there's no voice for them. In other words, they are completely cut out, and in any single time, and Ghost, you would agree with this, MD, I'm sure you would agree with this, and Rose, every single time you see anything about Cuba, it's never about the horrors of communism. It's always about how great it is. What a great healthcare system.
Oh, yeah. Oh, absolutely.
What a great education system they have. In other words, we don't have any voice. We say on our show, we always say, we're not partisan here, because we aren't. We're just pro-liberty and democracy, which is a concept that's very foreign. But one of the things that I fear that I'm watching more and more every day is the infiltration of this communist system, this socialistic system, into the United States. It's like a poison that's in our society, because I live here.
Yeah, and you know what? I've been saying it. I've been suggesting it, and I've been chastised for it. We are seeing the beginnings, the makings of a communist or a socialist society here.
Listen, when you have Hillary Clinton come on television on the day after Super Tuesday or the day before Super Tuesday, I was watching her, and they asked her, "How are you going to do this health care?" And she said, "Well, I'm gonna force people by garnishments." And I'm thinking, what?
Oh my God!
You're going to force us to
do I
do
remember
what?
that.
And I was I was dumbfounded. I was like, what? You're going to take my check, and if I don't want to do it, well, you're going to be forced into the system. And I'm thinking, wait a minute, where am I living? If I'm going to live, where am I living? Where is this planet that I'm living on? What is this country that I'm living on that I'm going to have the government garnishing, forcing me against my will to participate in a failed healthcare scheme that has not worked in any socialist country, has not worked in the social democracies of Europe, has not worked anywhere. If you think healthcare is expensive now,
damn well it's going to be the hard workers in our country. It's not going to be all the money makers who have got all the loopholes and all of the legislators, the funders of whatever. It ain't going to be.
Oh, listen,
it's going to be the middle class. It's going to be it's those who make $100,000 or less. Those are the ones that are going to be carrying this health care, whatever it is that Hillary's talking about. It ain't going to be anybody out there.
No. As a matter of fact, Rose, she's talking about taxing everybody. With all due respect, I mean, she really is. I mean, it's going to.
They are going to find a way. hear me, they'll find a way.
Well, no,
They need to close the loopholes on people who are making the dough.
Listen, if you think healthcare is expensive now, just wait until it's free.
Yeah, because they're going to take it out of our checks. I mean, everybody. I mean, not just the average working person. Everybody. And what's unfortunate about this is that I don't want government in charge of my health.
No, they can't even handle my licenses, or they can't even handle. Have you been to the DMV, the Department of Motor Vehicle? Are you kidding me?
And I'm telling you, and I'm glad that we're having this talk there, Q, because I'm telling you, you're right.
I can't even get dental health in my country, in my county. I have to go about 50 miles away to find somebody to get on a waiting list, to find somebody to pull a tooth. There's no health care as far as dental care in my part of the country.
Well, I think that the reason...
You have no idea. You need to be down here to really understand how much health care is screwed up in this system.
The reason that it's so screwed up, Rose, is because there's no financial incentive for anybody to go out there and make a dentistry out wherever you're at, I'm assuming. I mean, unless there is one and you just...
There ain't nothing here. There ain't nothing. There's about a 2-3 county area in my part of Wisconsin. You just try and find anybody here.
And well, in my argument,
you know something, Ghost. There are areas, and I live in one. If you go, and you remember this town, it was made famous by Forrest Gump. It's called Bayou La Batre, Alabama, and it's right on the coast. It got destroyed by Katrina. But if you go down there, there's very, in that part of the county, there's very few, doctors or anybody out there. And the reason is, it's not that there's no people, but there's not enough people to make it financially viable.
Exactly.
And this goes back to the capitalistic, system. Now, what does the county do? They go ahead and they send out teams, medical teams. They have so-called, free health clinics that anybody could go to. I could show up there. You could show up there. We pay $5, and it costs $5 to get a tooth pulled. It costs, $5 for this, $5 for that. You can get checked up, and they'll check you or whatever. I had to go to one of these clinics to get checked for a tuberculosis check or whatever for a job that I went to, and they said, yeah, just go to the health clinic. And I waited and waited and waited. It took 7 hours. No joke. I got there at 9 in the morning. I waited until 4 o'clock just sitting there, hundreds of people, and this doctor he looked terrible, this man. And I told him, I said, man, you look sicker than half of the people here. He's like, I'm the only one. I'm the only one out here, and I have to handle all of these people every day. But he worked for the county. What I'm trying to say is there's no incentive for people to work for free. That's why socialism and communism always fails. People will not work unless there's something in it for them. And this is something that all of these systems...
So what happens to people who need the help?
Well, what's happening, Rose, is that you've got government already funding 40% or over 40% of health care. And it's for people, and I hate to keep going back to this issue, but, people that are abusing that system of 40% being paid health care-wise are people that have children, 4 or 5, 6 of them. They're single parents. They're being irresponsible. Illegal immigrants are also being able to take advantage of this system. You've got a lot of people that are taking advantage of the free medical system, and of course the hospital is going to incur the debts because the government is only going to give them so much money for the health care that they give to these folks. So that leaves a little bit over 50% of the market that they can actually recoup some sort of a profit from. And I'm not saying that they're making big profits. Remember, these folks have to pay for machinery and infrastructure and administrations and doctors and, everything, light, a place. And it makes it difficult for a doctor or a hospital or anything for that matter to flourish under those conditions because you have government already, paying 40% of it. Now, that relates also to the college situation you were discussing, Rose. Why are people paying $50,000 a year in college degrees and stuff? Because government funds more than 40% of that as well. And if you're only
I would love to be able to pay my loans back. Just find me a fucking job.
Well, and that goes back into the economics issue.
I'm sorry, but that's your responsibility.
I've been out there looking. Nobody wants to hire anybody over 50 without experience. All I did was raise kids all my life.
Rose,
doesn't make any difference that I made a 4.0. Baby, I've been out there looking. There are no jobs.
Have you considered moving to a bigger city like Chicago or New York
Baby,
City?
I looked all over the country.
Well, okay. Okay, you know what? Then it's time for you to do something else.
Well, I'm making my own job.
Yeah, you either have to make
there you go. But you can't say the government needs to find me a job. Other people need to find me a job. You took the loan knowing that you had to pay it back, and it is up to you to find a job.
Right. I did not depend on the government. I'm out there looking for somebody in the society to give me a break or give me a friggin' job. Nobody's going to because of my age and because of my experience level. Yes, I have experienced a lot of discrimination. It's out there.
No, it does exist. I agree with you. But you know what? I was in a very similar situation, and what
don't tell me, this is what I did not expect this much discrimination.
Okay,
I did not.
But I mean, who do you expect help from now? You talk about needing help. Who do you expect help from?
Excuse me?
You talk about needing help and
I just want a job. I don't want help. I just want a job. I want to help myself.
Okay. Well, I mean, I don't understand why, but you brought up the loans like it was something that you were forced into doing. Your points seem to contradict one another.
Why should I was on disability, and I decided to make more of my life, okay? All right? I could have sat there for the rest of my life on dole, okay? Not even worry about anything. I decided to make more of my life, and this is what was pushed, not just by myself personally, but other agencies, okay? So I got the friggin' education, and now there's nothing there.
But you're saying you were pushed. You had a choice. I mean,
a choice? What a choice? Sit there on my ass and just
let me give you an example.
Accept a disability for the rest of my life? Is that a choice? Is that what you want me to say? What? Just sit there and do nothing or do something?
You were in a governmental disability program, and they offered you like rehabilitative education.
They said it was available, and I took that chance. I took the chance to do something. Yes.
Okay.
Anybody?
No.
Well, I mean, you take a chance.
And now I can't find a job.
Well, Ro, are you looking in a specific industry? Is that why you can't find it?
Human resources.
Check it out. Have you decided maybe, to decide, look, I need this much of a pay grade to survive, to maintain sustenance, and at the same time have a few dollars to spend on myself. Now, I mean, once you figure out that figure, don't you think that you'd try to basically do, I mean, and within your physical and mental capabilities, obviously, but to fulfill a job that would entail a certain list of responsibilities that would enable you to pay or to be paid enough to maintain sustenance and to have a few dollars either to kick back in the bank or to spend on yourself.
That's what I've been looking at. I look at the state. I have access to my state job bank. I even have a little card that says that they need to interview me. There are no interviews. Nobody.
Have you ever thought about, like I said, maybe pumping a few resumes, from companies across the country, and possibly relocating?
Yes, dear. Send them all out.
Well, because
I had a national. I've had. I mean, I'm not even going to mention them. But there is a national organization that even is out there. Oprah even pumps them up, and they can't. And I know one person. If I emailed her, she would know who I am. She hasn't been able to help me find a job.
Ghost, you know what I did?
What's that?
I'll tell you what I did. I went to school and I studied something that was useless. I studied archaeology, and I got a bachelor's degree in anthropology and archaeology. The problem is there is no work unless you have a PhD. So then what I did was, well, how can I, parlay this into something?
Mm-hmm.
I decided to become a substitute teacher. I was getting starvation wages.
Mm-hmm.
Meanwhile, I decided to get a master's degree in the closest topic, which would have been history. Then, when, those options, I got some jobs and doing different things, I said, you know what? I speak Spanish in different languages. Maybe I get certified doing that. And I just kept on going. I've held every kind of position, even to this day. And Ghost, I don't know how old you are. I don't know, MD, how old you are, or Rose. But even to this day, if I see a penny on the ground or I see an aluminum can, I actually pick it up because I know the value of a penny. I've worked my whole life.
Believe me, hey,
Cuba.
I know all about, work. I mean, I had to do some scummy jobs when I was a young man, and parlayed my money, saved my cash, had it work for me, made some great investments.
Exactly. I mean, you shouldn't give up.
Absolutely not.
Search, and you should continue, moving forward in whatever capacity that you have. There is no reason to give up. One of the things that I was asking, I told you about, distance education. There's a lot of universities that will hire you to teach classes from wherever you're at in human resources or whatever other master's degree that you have from your own home. Mm-hmm. Not just one. There's not just one distance learning program. There's dozens of them that you could apply to. Some of them are accredited, some of them are not. Regardless, they send you a paycheck. Mm-hmm. And that's something that you might be, you might want to do or something you might want to look into.
Yeah, absolutely, Rose. I mean, if you really need, some, job assistance, I mean, just go out and get a monster.com account or something of that nature, and just go out and just, I understand that you got a degree in a certain thing and you'd like to, you'd like to work in it. I mean, I got a degree from the University of Texas some time ago in political science, and I never did anything with political science.
Well,
as a matter of fact, I actually just did it to fulfill a, responsibility that I had with my folks. God rest their souls. I mean, I had to, basically fulfill to them, because they weren't able to graduate from college, and
mm-hmm.
They worked. They were middle class, barely middle class, and I just wanted to make them happy. And once I fulfilled my obligations to that, and I came out to the real world, I understood that, hey, you're not going to get paid big daddy warbucks out here for political science unless you
get a PhD, probably.
Yeah. I was going to say, you either have to become a professor, become a PhD, or get some candidate and basically not get paid for it. You have to do a lot of volunteer work. You got to work your way up the ranks that way. And I just wasn't passionate enough to do that, so I just went to work, and I took some scummy, really disgusting jobs at first, and saved my money. I mean, I had to struggle and that sort of thing, and I did what I had to do for a long time, and finally, I wouldn't say I'm, rich or anything, but I've made a comfortable living for me and my family, and that's what it comes down to. And I'm just suggesting to you, Rose. I mean, you're.
I don't have the time to do what you.
I was going to suggest to you that you just need something that's just going to maintain sustenance, and at the same time, being able to have a few dollars for you to go out and participate in a social activity or.
I'm doing. Believe me, I mean, I know I've painted a pretty sour picture, but I'm not without my resources. I know,
but I mean,
I've developed my own thing. I've got things that I'm doing on the side, but I just feel, just aside from all this, there really, seriously, there is. They need to rethink the way they give older people access to these educational loans, because it is a crock. Especially in a job market that's tight. If you find somebody with less motivation or less skill than me, you're going to get. It's not. Oh my God.
What's up, MD?
I mean, number one, first off, I mean, I'm not trying to be rude or anything, but Ghost recommends that you try other things, Monster.com, those sort of things, and put things together like that in order to find a job that would.
And they're done that. Hello?
Your criteria. And then you say just now you don't have the time. Well, if you're complaining you don't have a job, how do you not have the time?
No, she was suggesting that.
About time.
No, she was suggesting that she didn't have the time to do what I did, which was work so many years, parlay the saved money, and have it work for you, that sort of thing.
Right. No, if it was a matter of next week or tomorrow, damn straight, I'll be on it in a heartbeat.
But what I'm suggesting to you, Rose, is maybe you should look outside your realm of interest, and maybe you're going to have to take a job that you wouldn't have looked at first. But if it's going to maintain not only sustenance, but like I said, a few dollars for you to go out and have good meals, or whatever your vices are, or whatever's going to make you happy. I mean, that's what you should go for, in my view.
My realm of acceptability is wide. I'm there looking. Okay.
Any advice, folks?
That's all I could think of is to give her the advice that I gave her, and the thing is not to lose hope and just to continue.
Yeah, don't lose hope yet, Rose. I mean, we're still at full. Well, I don't know. I think we've just passed full employment, but we still have enough employment to fulfill. I would say sustenance at the very minimum. I mean, don't get me wrong. I'll acknowledge the fact that our economy is kind of tanking. But at this point, I mean, I think that if you just look around, and unfortunately, Rose, I mean, you may have to take a job that just you didn't think of when you were getting this degree. But sometimes things don't work out like they should. And I agree that somebody should not have advised you to put yourself in debt, for college degrees that you can't get jobs in and that sort of thing. But I think that if you really, need, some sort of generating revenue or some sort of an employer, make it, just think about the option of trying to move away from where you're at currently and maybe going into some place that, needs something in high demand. I mean, that I live right by Austin, Texas. And Austin, Texas, you should see the amount of want ads. I mean, they can't get enough people to work out there.
Ghost, you know what's going on here in the Gulf Coast?
What's that?
We have so many people. There are so many jobs here. Let me give you an example. The McDonald's here, all of the McDonald's, they're paying $7 an hour and up. But yet the Americans here do not want those jobs. What do? They go ahead and they hire temporary workers from Eastern Europe, from Central and South America, who will come in and be happy to work for that $7. I've talked to the owner of my local McDonald's here, and I told him. He tells me, John, I can't. Nobody wants these jobs. Look right now I'll hire anybody off the block, anybody. They don't come in, and if they do, they last a day or two, and they're gone. It's a lot of the work ethic, and it's something else. I talked about the aluminum cans. I've always been a conservationist. And most conservation organizations or whatever are very extreme liberal. They always blame America for everything.
Sure.
And I figured at a very young age, I said, you know what? I'm going to help the environment. I'm going to collect my aluminum cans or whatever, and then I would turn around and sell them. And I, put some money in my pocket, and at the same time I help the environment.
Yeah.
But here we had Mardi Gras. We just had Mardi Gras this past Tuesday. There were thousands of cans, aluminum cans, just lying on the street. And there were homeless people just walking right by them. There was only one homeless man that it occurred to him to pick up some of these cans so he could sell. What did I do with my friends? We went through a 3-block area and collected all the aluminum cans, to donate to a abused children and women's shelter that exists here, and they turned around and made some money off of those cans or whatever. But the people, the homeless people here in front of me, were too lazy to even pick up the cans. In other words, it's an entitlement society where people are used to, give me. I'm not even going to pick up an aluminum can to make $20. And the price of aluminum in the world market is about $1.16 a pound, and they're paying about 50 to 60 cents a pound. A pound is about 24 cans, 25 cans. So, they could have made a couple of bucks for themselves to help themselves out. But they just sat there. They were just watching me.
Yeah, and I've made a lot of comments about the American work ethic as well, but at the same time, you've got liberals utilizing that.
Ghost, please, let me interfere or interrupt. How the hell can I pay $100,000 off at $7 an hour and live? I got a daughter who did not even finish 9th grade, and she's going to get a factory job at $10 an hour. How could I accept a managerial position at $7 an hour with a master's degree and pay off my debt?
Well, Rose, you wouldn't stay at $7 an hour. That's the whole the whole illusion around everything. I mean, just because you're hired for $7 an hour doesn't mean you're going to stay there. Obviously, Rose, I've talked to you several times. You're an intelligent woman. You have foresight. You understand certain things. Somebody who's managing over you is not going to just keep you there at a $7 an hour job. And if they do, well, at least you have a job currently, so you can go to another employer and say, hey, look, I do this, I do that. For this job, they don't appreciate it. I want something a little better. Hopefully, you can get it to me, and that'll give you a little bit more leverage on the job market.
I mean, that's the thing.
You stay down there too long, and whatever I did turns into no.
No, I mean that's the American dream of getting things.
Listen, I think that's a defeatist attitude. Let me give you an example.
Yes.
When
let
we
me
arrived,
just say something really quick.
Yeah, when we escaped. Go ahead.
Go ahead, MD, and then go ahead, Q.
The idea of the American dream is the guy comes over, you start in the mailroom working for nothing, and then 15 years later, 20 years later, all of a sudden you're an executive or the CEO of the company. You start at the bottom. You start at $7 at 7-Eleven. You get bumped up to a manager after a while because you have good experience, and then you're making more, and then you get a resume built, and you can have them say to another company, this employee is always on time. She's willing to work extra hours when need be if she can, and that's how you move up. You can't move up by sitting there and saying, I have a degree and I can't find a job. You start out at the bottom. It sucks, but that's how it works.
You know what? I showed up every day for the last over 25 years, and I raised a family. And
I'm really sorry to hear that, Rose. I mean, raising a family, is a full-time job, and I commend you for that. As a matter of fact, I heard your daughter on a show, and I was on the line. She sounded very cordial. Sounded like somebody who has a good head on their shoulders, and obviously that was perpetuated through you. All I can suggest to you, Rose, is that sometimes you just gotta go out, get a job. If that isn't paying enough, do something else. You've got the online market that's just flourishing. I mean, eBay. eBay is a great.
No, I'm not a defeatist. Believe me. I'm out there trying. Believe me, I am not giving up. I got my own things going, but I just feel, with somebody. I mean, I've got a disability. I've got things going against me, but thank God I have a head on my shoulders and I have the guts that I have. But there are others who don't have what I have, and they're just sunk. I just really feel for other people who don't have the guts that I do. Because I'm going to make it. I'm okay. I'll figure it out one way or the other. Don't worry about me. I'll get there. I'll figure it out one way or the other. I just feel, I feel real bad for other people who get sucked in and get stuck.
I'm sorry to hear it, Rose. I'm just saying, don't sound defeated. You know, this is America. I mean, until the liberals completely take our rights away, you know, we still have the right to go out and work. We can do whatever it takes. It's the free market system. I mean, remember, you are what you produce, you know, and try to figure out a need, you know, fulfill that need, and go out and try to remember. Look, this is America. People are begging you to take money from them. Yeah. I mean, this is one thing I've learned as a businessman. I mean, seriously. I mean, this is one thing I've learned as a businessman. You know, people are just begging you to take their money. All you got to figure out is a way to persuade them to say, "Hey, look, this is what I have. You want it? Buy it."
Well, one thing I've been taught, you know, or been told by, this is going to sound really weird, but you know what? I know I have a niche for teaching, and even though what is really strange is I have this anxiety disorder that I've gotten over, but somebody, you know, told me, a psychic, you need to be a teacher. Okay, well, I am putting together things that I can go out and teach people from where I've been. And so eventually, you know what, I'll be putting on seminars. You can read my book.
Hold on just one second. I got another call here from the 360 area code. Hello.
Hello.
How you doing?
Hey, this Rose lady sounds like a lazy bitch.
Oh, come on now. That's no way to talk. Come on now. Give me a break. Anyway, I cut him off. That wasn't very nice. Anyway, folks, we got about 7 minutes left in the program. I wanted to go ahead and give you all a last word before I close this out. Anybody want to go? I'll give it to whoever wants to talk first.
Well, I mean, I'll go. I think the huge disconnect is we agree on when you break it down to issues more often than not, and we obviously have our disagreements. And I think that the one thing that, you know, everybody needs to remember is, you know, there's a freedom of speech. The same thing that gives you the right to say what you want to say on your show only adds to, you know, when other people talk about it on their shows, whether they're, you know, berating you or not, which, look, I've done plenty of, and because I think it seems like when you do calm down, you can have good discussions. And I obviously, you know, we've gone through I don't know if we've gotten it clear on how exactly to save the American family, but we both agree that it needs to be done. It's just how. And I just, you know, if I were to be so bold as to make one recommendation, it's just with the names, and I said this earlier, if you can hold back, the more people that we can get to listen, if even if they're being a little bit of a jerk in the chat room, if you can hold back, those are the people we need to reach. You know, we don't need to reach the people that are already listening to us because they're already there. And you know, I'm fine with, you know, whatever I say, I'm fine with people criticizing. So I think that's important because I think that's the big difference that we need to have between the liberals and the conservatives. The liberals just kind of lockstep. We need to give away everything flat, you know, that's it. Whereas conservatives, like, we need to disagree because when you disagree, that gets ideas going, and you boil out some of the bad ideas you have, some of the bad ideas I might have, and then in the end result, you come up with good ones that will pull conservatives together. And so, you know, that's why we kind of need to work to have the people that aren't completely on board to listen, because those are the people we need to reach.
And, you know, I'm really glad I had this conversation with you, MD. I still feel that Jen's a piece of trash, but, you know, I feel a little differently about you.
Oh, boy.
I feel a little differently about you, and I thank you for having, you know, great discussion here this evening. Cuba, you want anything to add?
I had a great time on your show, Ghost. I only listened to you very, very briefly, twice, very briefly. I was just cruising the different chats or whatever. But I had a good time speaking with you, and hopefully you could, participate with us on our show if you'd ever like to call in. Or
Sure. Hey, and by the way, go ahead and say both of your shows. MD, your show?
Mine is, and we sort of compete, but with my work schedule, it's the only time it's Friday at 9 o'clock, CIR Radio. But, pick one of our shows and then catch the other one in the archive.
Sure. And Cuba?
Cuba Compagnoni. We come on Sundays between 4 and 6 Central Time.
Cool. And Rose, you want anything to add and plug your show?
All I wanted to say is until you walk a mile in my shoes, don't criticize them.
I hear you. Well, I'm going to go ahead and drop you all off. We got 3 minutes left in the show. I just want to close out and wanted to thank all three of you again for, providing great discussion, great insight. Let it be known me and MD Conservative are no longer enemies. Well, I don't know. I mean, we may disagree, but, hopefully, MD, I won't see you in my chat room spitting out all kinds of personal attacks, 4-letter words, and that sort of thing, and vice versa. I won't do the same thing on the air. And Cuba, I'll be more than happy to go out and check your show out as well. And
Check us out, and if you want to send us a friend request or whatever, go ahead and do that, and we'll be more than glad to add you to the Friends of Cuban Freedom. Great.
And Rose as well. Your show, Rose?
White Rose Talks about the United States Department of Peace, Sundays, 3 to 5 Central Time.
All right. Well, I thank all of you for tuning in and providing insight.
Okay. God bless you all. Bye-bye.
Thank you very much.
And Ghost?
Yeah.
I think the one thing that you might realize is that with Jen, how you feel with her now, maybe you have the feelings towards her while a lot of people have the feelings towards you. You tend to, you'd be amazed. You would probably tend to agree with her on a lot of things. Not everything, but it's not a completely black and white thing. Maybe it's her presentation. I mean, I happen to like it, so maybe that's it. So I just think, you judged me a little too quick. Maybe I judged you a little too quick, but you might have judged Jen a little too quick with all the heat. So I would just ask you to make a second assessment on that, because she agrees on far more things than you would think, and it's a few things that she disagrees. But that's kind of life. But that's I would say she's always been fair to me, and she runs a great blog, especially. And,
all right.
Takes all the liberals on. So.
Well, I'll try to check out her show. I never checked it out, but thanks a lot, MD. I really appreciate it, man.
Morning.
You have yourself a great morning.
You too.
Later on. Well, folks, we had some great political discourse here early this morning. This show actually stemmed from a previous show, Ozone's political intervention. We had a pretty long discussion there. It relayed over in an impromptu show here, and I wanted to thank all the guests for coming in, providing political insight. Me and MD Conservative were pretty much at war with each other. We were saying all kinds of 4-letter words, saying things about each other that probably shouldn't be said in a PG-13 rated movie, for that matter. But I wanted to thank everybody for tuning in with me. I'm usually on every Friday, Saturday, and Sunday at 9 p.m. Central Time. The only reason I wasn't on this Sunday, or today, I should say, or yesterday, was because of the fact I was doing some family things, and Ghost is all about the American family. But I wanted to encourage everyone out there to listen to me on the archive, kick back with us, have a few laughs, and at the same time get back to me on my MySpace, myspace.com/ghostpolitics, all one word. And I wanted to thank you once again for tuning in with me early this morning. And I hope to see you all around. Come back to us. Listen to us in the archive. Long live the conservative movement. And God bless this country. God bless America. God bless all of you folks. And thank you very much.
Boar's Head is bringing a slice of Japan to the deli. Introducing Boar's Head Ichiban Teriyaki-style chicken. Tender, slow-roasted chicken breast, coated in our signature teriyaki glaze, where ginger, garlic, and a hint of brown sugar meet for a flavor that's both sweet and savory. New Boar's Head Ichiban Teriyaki-style chicken. The bold flavor of Japan. Now at the deli. Only from Boar's Head. Compromise elsewhere.